बेगम। कमसिन महाराजा चामराज वडियर के मज़ाहिब के लिए दीवान रंगाचार्य ने अली अस्कर को उनके फर्जंद आगाजान को मुकर्रर किया मसाहिब के तौर पर। दोनों का अच्छा साथ रहा, लेकिन महाराजा की बउम्र 31 साल की उम्र में कलकत्ता में इंतकाल हुआ, जिससे रियासत पर रंजो गम के बादल छा गए। सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल की इब्तदाई तालीम सेंट पैट्रिक स्कूल और वेस्लियन स्कूल में हुई। जब महाराजा नालवड़ी कृष्णराज वडियर की तालीम के लिए एक खुसूसी शाही स्कूल कायम किया गया तो उनके हमजमात के लिए सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल को चुना गया। इस तरह 3 पीढ़ियों तक आपके ख़ानदान और महाराजों के गहरे ताल्लुक़ात रहे। इस तरह आपने सेंट्रल कॉलेज से ग्रेजुएशन के बाद आपको कोलार में असिस्टेंट सुपरिटेंडेंट ऑफ पुलिस के ओहदे पर आप फायज हुए, लेकिन चंद माह के बाद महाराजा ने आपको अपना असिस्टेंट सेक्रेटरी मुकर्रर किया और उस वक्त तक महाराजा के सेक्रेटरी का ओहदा ब्रिटिश हुकूमत की ही जानिब से नामजद होता था। लेकिन महाराजा इस रवायत को तोड़ते हुए आपको हुजूर सेक्रेटरी मुकर्रर किया और उससे पहले किसी हिंदुस्तानी को ये ओहदा नहीं दिया जाता था। फिर आप प्राइवेट सेक्रेटरी रहे और 1926 में आप दीवान मुकर्रर हुए और इस तरह और इस ओहदे पर महाराज की वफ़ात तक 15 साल कायम रहे। महाराजा की वफ़ात के बाद महाराजा श्री चामराज वडियर के दौर में आप रियासत मैसूर में एक ऑटोमोबाइल इंडस्ट्री कायम करना चाहते थे और वालचंद हीराचंद के भी ताल्लुक के नाम भी सामने थे, तो लेकिन ब्रिटिश और शाही महलात के इख्तलाफात की बिना पर आपने महाराजा को अपना इस्तीफ़ा पेश कर दिया। उसके बाद आप जयपुर के महाराजा सवाई मानसिंह के सदर आज़म के ओहदे पर फायज हुए और जहां आपने बेइंतहा सलाहियतों की वजह से जयपुर को तरक्की दी, जो हिंदुस्तान का सबसे पहला मनसूबाबंद शहर बना। महाराजा की आपकी खिदमत के एतराफ़ में महाराजा ने आपके नाम से वही एक मशहूर शाहरा भी आपके नाम से मंसूब कर दी। मशहूर संस्कार जी.डी. बिरला से आपके गहरे ताल्लुक़ात थे। आपके मंसूबों के लिए वो फ़ंड फराहम करते और बिरला इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी पिपलानी को तरक्की भी मिली। नेशनल बॉल बेरिंग की फैक्ट्री भी हुई और अपनी सबकदोशी के बाद भी महारानी गायत्री देवी के भी आपके ताल्लुक़ात रहे और मशवरा जारी रहा। सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल अपनी रात दिन की काविशों और मनसूबाबंदी और मुदब्बराना सलाहियतों से रियासत को हिंदुस्तान पर बेहतरीन दर्जे तक पहुंचा दिया था। आप पाशी के भारी मंसूबों पर अमलवारी, नई सनतें कायम हुई, क़दीम सनतों को तरक्की दी, माशी तरक्की हुई, सकाफ़ती तरक्की हुई और अवाम की खुशहाली की वजह से महाराजा कृष्णराज वडियर और आपके दर हुकूमत को सुनहरा दौर कहा जाता है। गांधी जी उसे राम राज्य करार देते तो लॉर्ड सेंके उसे दुनिया भर में बेहतरीन मुनज़्ज़म रियासत करार देते। अमेरिकी सफ़ीर के मुताबिक सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल जैसी शख्सियत हिंदुस्तान भर में तो क्या यूरोप में भी कहीं देखने को नहीं मिली और दूसरे सूबों के शहजादे यहाँ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ट्रेनिंग के लिए भेजा जाता था। सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल के कारहाय नुमायाँ को याद करना गिनाना मुश्किल है, फिर भी चंद आपके सामने पेश कर रहा हूँ कि ब्रिटिश हुकूमत को हर साल महाराजा की जानिब से 35 लाख रुपये खिराज अदा करना पड़ता था, लेकिन आपने लॉर्ड इरविन के मज़ाकरात के साथ उसे घटाकर 25.5 लाख रुपये तक लाया। बेंगलुरु मास्कर यानी कंटोनमेंट का इलाका जो मद्रास के ज़ेर असर इंतज़ाम था, उसे आप ही की कोशिशों से वापस रियासत में शामिल किया गया। मंडिया शक्कर का कारखाना, कावेरी नदी पर क्यार सागर की तामीर और आपके दौर में हुई और हुलिकी रिटेनर इरविन केनाल जो बाद में विश्वेश्वरा केनाल भी कहलाया, उसके ज़रिए मंडिया मलवली तीरसिपुर के तकरीबन 1,20,000 एकड़ ज़री ज़मीन सैराब की गई, जिससे यहाँ की माशी और ज़री तरक्की हुई। और अंजनापुर, मार्कोनवेली और कंधवा बंद की भी तामीर के ज़माने में हुई और सबसे मशहूर दुनिया भर का मशहूर जो बाग है वृंदावन बागात क्यार सागर में, ये आप ही के नंदीजी फिर का सामान है। गंजा में अंजीर के बागात और नागथहल्ली में फार्म वगैरह भी आपके ज़माने में सिर्फ फार्म हुआ। सैकड़ों तालाब आपकी तामीरात आपके ज़माने में हुए। किसानों के लिए मैसूर लैंड रिकॉर्ड्स ऑफ राइट्स का कानून बनाया गया। भद्रावती में सीमेंट, कागज़, लोहे और स्टील के कारखाने, हिंदुस्तान भर में सबसे पहला कीमियावी खाद का कारखाना बेलगोड़ा में कायम किया गया। बेंगलुरु में कांच और चीनी मिट्टी का कारखाना, हिंदुस्तान एरोनॉटिक्स, हरिहर में किर्लोस्कर मशीन शॉप, दावनगिरी में सूती कारखाना, हुसपेट और मुनीराबाद में शक्कर के कारखाने, रायचूर में फारूक अनवर ऑयल मिल्स, कैसर हिंद ऊनी का कारखाना, बेंगलुरु में मिनरो मिल्स, इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट, निम्हांस का क़याम, वानी विलास बेंगलुरु में, और मैसूर में चलवम्बा, शिवमोगा में मैकगॉन अस्पतालों का क़याम, और बेंगलुरु में जक्कूर हवाई अड्डा, शिमशा और जोग में बरक़ी पैदावार के ज़रिए गाँव कस्बों में बिजली फराहम करने के लिए हिंदुस्तान भर में रियासत को पहला मुकाम हासिल रहा। और कन्नड़ की लाजिमी तालीम पहली से 7वीं जमात आपने के ज़माने में हुई, और कन्नड़ी और अंग्रेज़ी लुग़ात के लिए भी आपने माली फ़ंड फराहम की। नंदी हिल्स और चामुंडी हिल्स के सीढ़ियों का इंतज़ाम भी और वहाँ पे रोशनी का भी बंदोबस्त आपके ज़माने में हुआ। इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ साइंस और सर सी वी रामन की इंस्टीट्यूट के लिए भी तकरीबन 371 एकड़ ज़मीन भी आप ही ने उनको मंजूरी दी। हज़रत, मैसूर की मसनूआत की तशहीर के लिए लंदन में एक ट्रेड कमिश्नर भी कायम किया गया। आखिर में एक मशहूर साहबी डी.वी. गुंडप्पा के मुताबिक उनकी डायरी के चंद इन्हें आखिरी के बाद में बोल के ख़त्म करता हूँ कि आपका मामूल ये था कि सुबह 8 बजे घोड़े पर सवार किसी इलाके का दौरा करते और अफसरान को हिदायत देते, और 11:30 वापस आकर घर में गुस्ल नाश्ते से फारिग होकर फिर दफ्तर के कामों में लग जाते। 5 से 8 बजे तक मुलाकात का टाइम था और रात 12 बजे तक आप फाइलों को निपटाते। और डीवीजी के मुताबिक मैसूर के 11 दीवानों में सिर्फ 4 ही दीवान ऐसे हैं जो साहिब बसीरत और दूसरे सिर्फ एक नाजिम की हैसियत थे। उनमें सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल का भी नाम है। आखिर की 1959 में जब आपका इंतकाल हुआ, इंतकाल के 1-2 घंटे पहले जब किसी का फ़ोन आया तो फ़ोन के जवाब में सर मिर्ज़ा ने कहा कि मैं तैयारी कर रहा हूँ। किसे मालूम था कि वो आखिरी सफ़र की तैयारी करने की बात कर रहे थे। तो आखिर में मैं इस बात को ख़त्म करता हूँ कि सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल अपना नज़्मुल आइन सामने ऐसा रखते थे जैसा कि पंडित जवाहरलाल नेहरू उनके मेज़ पर हर वक्त रॉबर्ट फ्रॉस्ट का एक शेर रखते थे कि द वुड्स आर लवली डार्क एंड डीप बट आई हैव प्रोमिसेस टू कीप एंड माइल्स टू गो बिफोर आई स्लीप था। लेकिन हमारे सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल साहब का एक नज़्मुल आइन, एक शेर शेख सादी का, ये हर वक्त उनके सामने रखते। इसको डीवीजी ने भी बयान किया है कि याददारी के वक्त ज़्यादा ने तो हमारे सर मिर्ज़ा इस्माइल के सामने ये शेर उनका नज़्मुल आइन भी था कि याददारी के वक्त ज़्यादा ने तो हम खंदा बुंदन लोग तू गिरियाँ, हम चुनाजी के वक्त मुर्दे ने तो हम गिरियाँ बुंदन तो तू खंदा। यानी ऐ इंसान, जब तुझे याद है वो दिन जब तू यहाँ पे पैदा हुआ और दुनिया में जब आया तो रोता हुआ आया, लेकिन तेरे साथ जो अतराफ़ के तेरे ख़ीश व ख़ारिब थे वो हंस रहे थे, खुशियाँ मना रहे थे। अपनी ज़िंदगी इस तरह गुजार कि जब तू इस दुनिया से जा रहा हो तो ऐसा जा कि तू हंसता हुआ जा लेकिन लोग रोते हो। इससे बेहतर मेरे ख़्याल से आपको ख़राज अक़ीदत पेश करा, क्योंकि आपके जो कारनुमाएँ हैं उनको गिनाना मुश्किल है। मैं एक चंद क्योंकि हमारे जो मुअज़्ज़िज़ और पुरमौज़ हमारी जो बातें हमारे सुनने को तैयार के लिए बेचैन हैं, जनाब निरंजन निक्कम साहब से मैं माज़रत चाहता हूं कि थोड़ी, क्योंकि उर्दू में थोड़ी सी बातें हमारे उर्दू हमारी अंजुमन की जानिब से पेश करना ज़रूरी समझता था, इसीलिए मैंने पेश कर दी। आप तफसीला से अपने इसमें बयान करें। मैं जनाब डॉक्टर सलाउद्दीन साहब से फिर मैं आपको हैंड करता हूँ।
Okay, thank you so much. Before I go across to the next agenda of the program, I would be inviting the moderator of today's webinar, Dr. Javed K. Naeem, the eminent physician and columnist of the Mysore city. Let me introduce, I think he doesn't require any introduction as people know him, a doctor who can cure the diseases, and the a doctor who is known to cure the vital diseases with his humor. So I introduced Dr. Javed K. Naeem. He was born in the Mysore city as a, had education up to BSc in Mysore, completed his MBBS from MR Medical College, Gulbarga in 1981, and was declared the best outgoing student there. He did his MD in medicine from Mysore Medical College in the year 1985, served as assistant professor of medicine for 3 years at JSS Medical College, and he has served later as the city physician at Holy Cross Hospital, Kamagere, Kolegal Taluk for 6 years and continued to do private practice at Kolegal till 2001. Has been practicing now as a physician at Mysore. Since then, has been writing. We all know him as a famous writer, where a weekly column in Star of Mysore for the past 15 years. He is interested in nature, photography, drawing and painting, target shooting, stamp and coin collecting, and promoting the interfaith dialogue and harmony. We have such a eminent personality. We are lucky enough to be in his era. And may I now take this opportunity to invite Dr. Javed K. Naeem, the moderator of today's webinar, to introduce today's speaker, Mr. N. Niranjan Nikam. Dr. Javed K. Naeem.
It's a great privilege and a pleasure for me to be here in your midst today, and also to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Niranjan Nikam. Mr. Niranjan Nikam, I think, is one of the brightest stars in the galaxy of journalists in Mysore today. He is a very senior journalist, and he is a journalist who has not just been a senior journalist in his field, but he is somebody who has sat in every saddle of journalism. He has served as a very senior reporter and an editor for Deccan Herald for a very long period. He has also worked with Star of Mysore, and he has most importantly been a very, very prominent member in the university's centenary celebrations committee, and he has assisted many people in the publication and production of many books, and he has been writing extensively all through his life, and we have seen and read his publications, his articles, his essays on diverse topics, and he has made a name for himself, and today we are very, very happy that he is the principal speaker. The very important and very interesting coincidence is that when we approached him from the Anjuman to be the speaker today, we found that he was in the midst of working on a book on the grandfather of Sir Mirza Ismail, and he has been associated with this project, and the book has come out, and I think Dr. Niranjan, Mr. Niranjan is going to show us this book today, and it's a wonderful book. As I was just glancing through it, I found that it is got a huge repository of information about the Mirza Ismail family and the history of Mysore also. So without wasting much time, I have this great pleasure of leaving the forum open for Mr. Nikam to speak and address you. Thank you.
Dr. Salahuddin and Asadullah Khan. Before I talk about Amin ul Mulk, Sir Mirza M. Ismail, which I just now heard, Amir ul Mulk means that he is the saver of the kingdom. That is what it means, and I was so delighted to hear about it. I thought I should dwell a little on his not so well-known ancestor. Most people are familiar with Ali Asgar Road, located between Infantry Road and Rajbhavan Road in Bengaluru. It is because And now I'll come to why I'm so excited with this job of speaking here, because Dr. Javed mentioned that how excited I was. It is because we did 10 months research on Aga Ali Asgar, which later came out in the form of a book written by the octogenarian Miss Saida Mirza, titled Aga Ali Asgar. And that today, and that is the reason we have that I developed a close affinity and intimacy with the Mirza family. It also happened that we are involved in a couple of projects now where we are looking into Mirza's role. So suddenly, when I got a call from Dr. Javed Naeem last week asking me to speak about Sir Mirza Ismail, I just could not believe my ears. I was literally on cloud 9, and that is exactly what I told Dr. Javed. Incidentally, today happens to be the 137th birth anniversary of Sir Mirza, who was born on October 24, 1883. What a day to pay a tribute to a great administrator. Ancestry and environment play a great part in influencing the character of a human being. Aga Ali Asgar upbringing, like his ancestors, had been puritanical, with the old virtues of hardihood and independence being instilled in them, as along with the Persian traditions of courtesy and unstinting acceptance of a guest and kindness to strangers. When we look back on why Sir Mirza endeared himself to people of all communities and religions, we can trace it to his grandfather, Aga Ali Asgar. Before this, because what happened was when when President Said Shafi Ahmad was telling about the story of Sir Mirza Ismail in Urdu, I must tell this because when I was doing the book reading of Aga Ali Asgar in Bangalore, when the book was launched, I told the audience there, I can never forget the day when I was just a 16 or 17-year-old, when I was going in a bus from the Mysore bus stand and had to get down at Balal Hotel. So there were these two Muslim gentlemen sitting in front of me. They were speaking in Urdu or Persian, I really don't know, probably Urdu. And the way they were speaking, it was music to my ears. And I will never forget even today. So the biggest regret I have is I wish, having done my philosophy MA, I wish I had learned Sanskrit, and of course Urdu or Persian. I wish I had learned, understood both these languages. That is what, and now it's so difficult after what, and the reason Shafi Saab said is because this is a Urdu audience that we'll be seeing, and so that is the reason why he had to speak in Urdu. I was wondering why it's, and now I have to wade through what already he has spoken about Sir Mirza, because he has not left anything much, I think.
Yes.
No, that is why, that's where I'm coming to. I'm coming to that. I'm just coming to that. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It is yours.
So when we look back on why Sir Mirza endeared himself to people of all communities and religions, we can trace it to his grandfather, Aga Ali Asgar. I will just read one para from the book for all of us to understand the table manners of the aristocratic Persians. He would watch intently. The children had to eat correctly. The naan could be broken only with the first two fingers and the thumb of the right hand. The rice had to be eaten delicately with the tips of the fingers of the right hand. Too much gravy was frowned upon. The ash was eaten from a bowl with a china spoon. Meats were picked apart with the tips of the fingers and eaten with the naan. Before and after every meal, an ewer and basin were brought round to wash the hands, and a towel handed round. Shukran ilahi, thanks to Allah, had to be said when the meal was done. So I thought this was very important. These are the things. Each religion has its own, uniqueness. So this is where Sir Mirza Ismail came from. This is the tradition, the culture that he came from. So now let me go back to Aga. Aga came to Mysore as a 16-year-old, as he has already said. He had and this is something that, he had overheard a conversation in a chai khana in Shiraz that horses were in demand in Mysore. He convinced his father and traveled there. Of course, you have to read the book to really go through what it is. I'm not talking too much about it. And traveled by sea on doors, bringing 200 horses and landed in Mangalore. All the horses, 200 horses were alive. All the 200 horses. He loved Bangalore, and so much so that he settled down, and as the author of the book, Miss Saida Mirza, writes, he made it his karma bhumi. To these days, these are so important, these words are. He made it his karma bhumi. Aga then developed friendship with Mummadi Krishna Vadiyar was also fond of horses. Since the doctrine of lapse was enforced, Mummadi was just a king for formality's sake, as the British were running the administration. However, Aga and a few other prominent people played a big role in the kingdom being restored to Mummadi, who was allowed to adopt Chamraja Vadiyar, and this exactly is the story that has so painstakingly been researched to show the role of Aga in the restoration of the kingdom to Mysore. Aga was not only a horse trader but also a builder, and just to tell a few of the buildings he constructed and owned are Rajbhavan, Balabruhi, All India Radio building, and most of their properties in what was called the High Ground. He always was fond of, I believe I also read that he didn't believe in keeping the money in the bank. He always believed in owning properties, is what Sir Mirza writes. After the death of Chamraja Vadiyar, 10th, Maharani Wali Vilas Sanidhana was appointed the regent, and Aga Muhammad Qasim, known as Aga Jan, father of Sir Mirza, was appointed ADC to the Dowager Maharani. The friendship between Ali Asgar's family and the Vadiyars continued when Mirza became the classmate of Nalvadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar. This is the connection between Vadiyar's family and Sir Mirza's family, which Sir Mirza has acknowledged in his book, My Public Life. What is the unknown side of Mirza that I have come to know that many have not read or come across? Now, I must share a little anecdote. Now, when we were deciding on the, the title of the talk, Dr. Javid and me, we chose a few, and then finally, he also said this, and I agreed like a fool, unknown side of Sir Mirza. Because the anecdote that I'm going to narrate is, there is a book called The Untold Story of Vadiyars. It is written by somebody, and Mr. Shrikanta Datta Vadiyar, I was very intimate, very close with him. So I told him, sir, have you read this book called Untold Story of Vadiyars? And he said, he had a terrific, his whole subtle sense of humor, and he said, what is this untold story of Vadiyars that I do not know about that he has written? So, now I am also in a soup, because now after Shafi Saab has said so much about it, what is the untold story, unknown side of Sir Mirza that I have to share with you? But, luckily I have some stories, I think, but still I thought I should wade through what, the sides of Mirza that I found very interesting as a journalist. We all know the accomplishment of Sir Mirza and the friendship he enjoyed with the Rajarshi Nalvadi Krishna Raja Vadiyar. He was selected for admission to the Maharaja's special class of 9 boys, including himself. His Highness and his classmates lived in the Summer Palace. This is interesting because they all lived in the Summer Palace. Old Mysoreans will know where Summer Palace is. After graduating from the Central College in 1905, he was appointed to Mysore Palace Service and later to civil service. However, Maharaja insisted on his appointment to his staff, and there he gradually rose to be the Assistant Secretary, then Huzur Secretary in 1913 and Private Secretary in 1923. He was the first Indian to occupy the position. The Private Secretary to the Maharaja enjoyed the status of a minister, and it was considered a key post. He became the most senior officer in the state next to Diwan, and when the Diwanship fell vacant in 1926, the Maharaja appointed Mirza as the Diwan at the rather young age of 42 for such a responsible post. Of course, this was one of the reasons why there was so much heartburns then, because a young Diwan, young Mirza was appointed as the Diwan. And of course, the other reason is, I'll come to that. We all know of the way the two worked together and the kind of support Mirza got to improve the Mysore state in all aspects. Mirza served as the Diwan for 15 long years. Many a times in between, he always felt that he should make room for someone else. And he used to keep telling this to Nalvadi all the time. We must hear this in Sir Mirza's own words. And I quote, "The occupant might not get tired of the seat." I said to, Nalvadi, "The seat, some impatience," he said, "that I should take him over there, pointing in the direction of the cremation ground, which is, Madhuvana. Then do whatever I like." That is, Mirza says. He added that there was so far, that is what Nalvadi says, so far as he was concerned, no question of having another Diwan so long as he and I were alive. That is the kind of friendship, to run an administration, to run a state, unless you have this kind of understanding between the ruler and the Diwan or the Prime Minister. That is the reason why we are so proud of Mysore today. So proud because of the way these people, especially Nalvadi, the Rajarshi, and the Diwan, Amir ul Mulk, operated. One of the reasons, this is again one of the reasons for Dr. Saab, one of the reasons for Nalvadi's early death, right, Sir Mirza, was because of his fondness for exercise. Of course, there were people who drink, who do drugs, who do many other things, but Nalvadi was fondness for exercise. And that's what he raised. And I quote, "The Maharaja was very fond, all too fond of hard exercise. He particularly loved mountain climbing. He did the pilgrimage to Badrinath in the Himalayas on foot and also went to Manasarovar in Tibet. He played rackets regularly, probably squash. Violent exercise taken day after day eventually weakened his heart. On the morning of a severe heart attack, he had exercised 5 horses on the racecourse. When ill, he would not rest in bed despite his doctor's insistent advice." And he writes, Sir Mirza writes, "To me, his death was the greatest sorrow I have known in my life." Unquote. Talking about family planning, these are some of the things that I thought would be interesting. Talking about family planning, as Mysore was in the forefront of Indian efforts to promote birth control. See, the Mysore had this vision, because family planning came when India became independent. Family planning was one of the most important programs to bring down the population. He records in a humorous way. Thus, I quote, "A meeting for the promotion of birth control was held at the house of a Nepalese businessman who had settled down in Bangalore. The amusing part of it was that the host had no family to boast of, while Sir P.S. Shivaswamy Iyer, who had taken keen interest in the movement of family planning, and 2 other speakers, an Indian gentleman and a British colonel, were also childless." So these are the people who are promoting family planning. So this is what we see from, Nalvadi had reservation about hosting him. It was because of the British. British never wanted any Maharaja in India to host Gandhiji. There were reasons, obviously, because the Congress, the movement was there. Later, when Mirza saw, and it was not because of the, it was not because Nalvadi had reservations about hosting him. It was because of the British. Mirza writes how he was able to retrieve the situation when Maharaja, who after entertaining Lord Willingdon, wanted to entertain Mr. Gandhi as a guest. Later, when Mirza solves the problem, Willingdon writes to him, and I quote, "You are a wonder. Go on and all luck go with you. If you'll only give up the idea of Gandhi as a leader of political thought in this country, for, believe me, he is temperamentally a bad politician. You will, I know, do much to further the interests of India within the British Empire." So So the British were very clear because they were always scared of the freedom movement of the country and the India slipping away from them. I was talking to Sir Mirza's grandson, Ambassador Akbar Khalil, Mysoreans, the ideal that they should wash themselves with Mysore soap, dry themselves with Mysore towels, clothe themselves in Mysore silk, ride Mysore horses, eat the abundant Mysore food, drink Mysore coffee with Mysore sugar, equip their houses with Mysore furniture, light them with Mysore lamps, and write their letters on Mysore paper. This is what Sir Mirza said, and this is recorded on the All India Radio. You can just Google it and you can hear his voice. This is what he said, and that is his love for Mysore. The reason why Sir Mirza was so successful was because of his secular outlook, and he always had the interest of Mysoreans at heart. But it was also the time of freedom movement in the country. Though most parts of the country were caught up in the freedom fervor, the movement in Mysore was muted. The reason, writes Professor B. Shekhali in his book Sir Mirza Ismail, a great administrator, and I quote, "Nationalism and democracy had become the creed trends of the times. Nationalism meant elimination of foreign rule and democracy meant self-rule. British India stood for both nationalism and democracy, but Mysore concentrated only on democracy, as His Highness the Maharaja of Mysore, being the son of the soil, the question of nationalism did not arise at all." Unquote. However, it was sad the way he finally had to leave Mysore, resigning because the young Maharaja was not inclined to give him any more freedom that he had enjoyed during the tenure of Nalwadi, and the main reason which I will be talking about shortly was there. Before we come back to the resignation, he, as Shafi Sahib has already said, he was the Prime Minister in Jaipur. The Jaipur Maharaja called him, and when he quits finally there, after he receives an offer from the Nizam of Hyderabad, this is what he writes, and I quote, "In any case, I had resolved to say goodbye to Jaipur. Acting on the advice of Sadi, say enough, in quotes, to yourself before others say it to you. I thought I must go when people were anxious that I should stay." So these are the qualities of a true, visionary, a statesman, a bureaucrat. I wish everybody reads my public life. Every bureaucrat must read this. Every time when I see something like this, for instance, Hind Swaraj by Mahatma Gandhi, we all should read Hind Swaraj, self-rule. So when I read the public life, because once after this I had not read my public life, but immediately I downloaded it and then got it, printed, and then I read the whole thing. I was so excited. Now this is another thing that many of you might not know. R.K. Narayan, the novelist from Mysore, the English well-known novelist, had met Mirza, Sir Diwan Mirza. And the way he writes, R.K. Narayan, in his autobiography My Days, this is in chapter 10. He writes, there is the illustration by his brother, the famous cartoonist R.K. Lakshman. So, and this is what when R.K. Narayan goes to R.K. Narayan has his early life is a lot of struggle, because he's one person who, again, like Aga never wanted his children to go to government jobs. Narayan always shunned the jobs, because twice he went to Channapatna when he got the teaching post. Both the times he just comes back, and it's a humorous story the way he narrates it. And similarly, once he writes Swami and Friends, and Graham Greene goes through it, and then it is published. So he's sort of on cloud 9, but he is not making much money. Then there is a book called Dark Room he writes, and then also he is not much, but the publisher who has published it sends it to him, and he gets about 40 pounds. By then he's married. His wife says, and then he says, "Look, I'm going to get a lot of money," but what he all gets is 40 pounds. And then he's quite disheartened. Then he's also a journalist. Incidentally, Narayan was a journalist. He wrote to many Madras papers. So then he says he would like to go back, but he had this friend called Purna, who had helped him when he was in London to get the book to Somerset Maugham. Graham Greene. So the Purna, who is working with Mirza, says that come, I'll introduce you to Mirza Sahib. So he will probably help you, because Narayan actually didn't want a job, but he wanted to write a book on Mysore. So then what happens, Narayan goes there, and Narayan is very interesting. What Narayan says is he was always, pre-independence, he was always wearing, a shirt, a dhoti and a coat. So it was a typical Indian dress. So then when when Sir Mirza invites Narayan to meet him at his residence, Lakeview, I was wondering what this Lakeview is, and it is Jaladarshi, overlooking the Kukaranli tank. Then Narayan confesses, Sir Mirza's call made me extremely uncomfortable. I had gone on so far without meeting a minister or a Maharaja, and I hated every idea. I did not even possess a right dress for visiting a diwan. A dhoti and a cotton jacket over it were my main outfit, and I resisted the Western trial of dressing for many years. This is what he says. And I'll just quote a little last line. And he explains how he met the diwan, Mirza. I quote, I walked into his room in my dhoti, cotton coat, and a muffler around my neck, feeling uneasy, as if I had gone wrapped in a bath. This only Narayan could write this. In contrast to me, he was impeccably dressed in a silk suit and a black fur cap. He offered me a seat and put me at ease, inquiring about my literary activities in a general way without going into the details. Anyway, I don't want to go too much about it after that. So that is Narayan's, meeting Mirza. I'm sure not many people know this about this at all. As a journalist, I found it fascinating to discover this book printed by the Bangalore Press in 1942 titled Sir Mirza M. Ismail, Views and Opinions on his Retirement from the Office of Diwan of Mysore. This again, before I knew that I would be talking here, I suddenly came across this, I downloaded it, and it was so fascinating. Here I saw how newspapers all over the world reacted to Sir Mirza Ismail's resignation. I told you I'll come back to that. As Diwan of Mysore in 1941, apart from the personal opinions of giants like Sir Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, Right Honorable Sir Tej Bahadur Sapru, Belu Srinivas Iyengar, historian C. Hayavadana Rao, and of course Sir MV. And this is what MV said, and I quote, "It's a sad day for Mysore. Mysore has missed the bus. The position can never be retrieved. Sir Mirza was a great patriot." This is what Sir MV writes when he resigns. The newspaper list, which wrote from all over the world, included the likes of Hindu, Times of India, Madras Mail, London Times, Nagpur Times, Illustrated Weekly of India, the Tamil and Kannada press like Deshabandhu, Prajabandhu, Vakkaliga Patrika, etc. I have picked up one or two papers which I found very interesting in the way they describe Sir Mirza. This is Ceylon Daily News. The Ceylon Daily News, in its issue dated May 12, 1941, writes about Sir Mirza's retirement thus. Imagine, and I quote, "Truth is a paradox, said a wise man of the West. So is greatness. Sir Mirza is a man of paradoxes." Imagine people writing from Ceylon. He is an autocrat with democratic instincts, a dictator with a weakness for constitutions, a capitalist with socialist leanings, an idealist with an intense practical outlook, and a dreamer with the astute mind of a businessman. He is most charming man, but a stern and strict official, a perfect host, but an indifferent friend. I wonder if among his large circle of acquaintances and admirers, he had one bosom friend, except perhaps the late Maharaja of Mysore. This is what, Ceylon Daily News. And the other one, Commerce newspaper. This is very interesting. Commerce newspaper writes, Commerce Bombay, writing on May 17, 1941, this is just after he has resigned, said something that is so relevant today during the pandemic, especially when we are talking about our economy and how the best economists are talking about putting money into people's hands. Now everybody is talking, but nothing much is happening. This is what Mirza always believed in, and this is what Commerce writes, and I quote, "He was never tired of stating that his policy was to put more money into the pockets of the people. He has succeeded in his laudable ambition to an appreciable extent, as the numerous flourishing industrial concerns of the day would have amply demonstrate. even during, and this is very important because that was the period of depression. 1930s were a period of depression, but in Mysore we saw the, the wealth and everything being created. He was not deflected from his high purpose during the depression. Mysore saw, as a result of industrial expansion at a period when deflation was the general order of the day throughout the world. And as Shafi Saab said, how many industry is everything. The Daily Post records, in a lengthy article in the Daily Post, Bangalore observes, and I will focus here only on a summary of his benevolent acts, where Venkataramanan notices how so much Sir Mirza did for agriculture. Farm bills, all these things are being talked about. Judging from what standard, one can clearly see the work of the alleviation of the miseries of agriculturists, especially of Malnad, the establishment of land mortgage banks, the introduction of record of rights. So all these things he writes about. And coming a little towards the end, my own understanding of Sir Mirza, before I end with the conversation I had with Ambassador Akbar Khalili, is Dr. Hasnain Mirza, another grandnephew of Sir Mirza. There is a proverb in Kannada, man of end is what Sir Mirza was. And now let me just, yesterday I was talking to Dr. Hasnain Mirza, who is the grandnephew of Mirza Ismail, and who himself is called the Flying Vet. And his son, one Fawad Mirza, is now the equestrian, is going to participate in the equestrian Olympics. And when I asked Dr. Hasnain, he said, look, I think there is one thing that not many people know about that somebody told me about this in the family, and this is what he says. Rajaji, that is Rajgopal Chari, went to Mirza's house, after the independence, asking him to go to Pakistan. Rajgopalachari asked Mirza Sahib to go to Pakistan. Mirza Sahib went red. He was so upset. Rajaji, how can you ask me to go to Pakistan? I have never ever done this. Then I believe Rajaji said he had an interest because Raja Gopalachari, after all, was another great person in the freedom movement. He said, if you go to Pakistan, at least there could be some cordial relations between Pakistan and India. That was, and I don't know whether this, nobody has, I'm sure, I haven't read this, and this is what he shared with me about this. Sir Mirza, in spite of being, now about my view, upright, secular, hardworking and compassionate, every quality a bureaucrat needs, still had to face the brunt of unacceptance through his long career. In Mysore, he had to face the resistance because of his closeness to the Maharaja, especially being a Muslim. In Jaipur, he was considered anti-Hindu, and in Hyderabad, he was considered anti-Muslim. And Akbar Khalili shared with me the unknown side of Mirza with the story of the day Mirza Sahib breathed his last. That is on January 5th, 1959, I think. And this is what he says. It's very interesting. This is what happened. When in 1959, the chief minister was B.D. Jatti. But by then, we had come far long, because in 1941, Mirza goes away from Mysore. So they think, and especially Congress being, anti-Mirza and all this, so they all thought that Mirza Sahib has been forgotten. So they do not announce the holiday for that day. But finally, when people start coming, then Jatti announces the holiday at 11 o'clock. And then, this body is taken to the burial ground, where incidentally Aga Khan is also buried. And they bury it, but then people demand, we want to see the body, we want to see the body. And then it is again exhumed and kept on the sand. And at 9 o'clock, for the second time, the burial is done. This, I think, you have hair standing on your. This is what Khalili Saab told me. And then what happened was, and another interesting thing Khalili Saab told was, because you said the day he passed away, just before that he was busy doing something. Another thing that happened was, the day he passed away, just before that, Akbar Khalili, who's retired from the foreign service as a diplomat, got the letter to join IAS. And he called Mirza Sahib and told. And he said, okay, I'm very happy to hear about it. Come, darling. And he wanted to know, Akbar Khalili Saab, whether he should go to the IAS or the Foreign Service. Then Mirza Saab said, come, darling, come, we will discuss about it. And 1 hour later, Mirza Saab passes it. This is what, and these stories, I'm sure nobody has never heard of this. So this is what, and I think I should almost end it. But before that, I have to tell you one thing. When I asked Saida ma'am, the person who wrote this, I asked, was Diwan Mirza a devout Muslim? And her answer was so, it was so, what to say, very heartbreaking in the current atmosphere. She said, look, Niranjan, these are the things we don't talk about. As whatever religion you are, you follow it in your private things. So Diwan Mirza obviously was a good Muslim, a devout Muslim. He did whatever he did. We did not have to talk about it. But these days, unfortunately, we have to talk about everything. This is what Saida ma'am told me. So especially during these times, we need to talk. I feel all of us have to talk. If we stop talking, I know I have been interacting with the Muslim, I've got some great friends, I have been talking about it, but I don't know. I think we should, especially with the Urdu channel now. I think if I don't speak here, I don't know where we can speak. And then Khalili told me finally, Sir Mirza paid a price, and he said, you must tell this. He told me this morning, finally you have to tell this. The kind of, after all, I never expected that I would be talking to, Khalili Saab, Akbar Khalili Saab. And when Hasnain Mirza gave me this number, and I called him, and I was, because you are nervous because he's a diplomat, he's retired, he's 80 plus, I don't know whether, immediately accepted. Yesterday at 4 o'clock, I spoke to him, he had just come back from the hospital. Then he said, call me at 7. Then at 7, I was busy. Imagine, I was busy. And then I called him and said, can I talk to you at 10 o'clock in the morning, sir? He agreed. So these are the things, there are many people who show off with nothing between their ears. But here are great people like, the Aga Khan family and Aga Aliaskar family, Dr. Diwan Mirza and Akbar Khalili. So, and this is what he said, you must say this, and I quote, Sir Mirza paid a price for his cosmopolitan outlook. He liked neither the Congress nor the Muslim beliefs because he strongly felt that they would divide the country. Both Nehru and Patel did not like him, did not like Mirza. It was only Gandhi who really understood and had a good relations with the princely states, and the way Mysore state was run by His Highness Nalvadi Krishna Raja Vadiyar and Sir Mirza. That is why Gandhi ji called it Rama Rajya. He was a typical Mysorean at heart. This is what Akbar Khalili said. I think I have spoken enough. Thank you all, the listeners, the viewers, for hearing me out and the unseen, unknown side of Sir Mirza. I personally have enjoyed so much doing this research about Sir Mirza, about his family, and now talking, about. And before I end, Anjuman A. Hadikatul Adab. I have known Dr. Javed Saab for more than 20 plus years or more, because we are all Mysoreans, even though I had not known him personally, but I had known that Javed Naim Saab was there. And every year after you started this, Eid Milan, you always invited me, and I would gladly come. One thing is, you had the best speakers, and it was cosmopolitan, as you rightly said. You invited the elite of Mysore from all communities. It didn't matter who came there, but everybody enjoyed. And after the the program, the mouth-watering biryani which I described now, the Persians made, and you people served every time. And once I came, I was in Bangalore, you called me. So we drove all the way straight to St. Philomena's. Luckily I had a driver that day, and he parked the car there. We rushed. It was 8 o'clock. Till then it was just starting. Probably something like this had also happened then. It was delayed. So I listened to the speaker. I think he was from Mangalore. I will never forget his speech. It was so good. So this is the bonding, the camaraderie I have enjoyed with Dr. Javed Naim Saab, Shafi Saab, and all these people. And I thank you once again from the bottom of my heart for inviting me to share my thoughts on one of the greatest human beings ever, Sir Mirza Ismail. Thank you.
So you have put forth many facts
Ah.
about the Sir Mirza Ismail.
Yes.
Still there is a need to search or research in his life and achievements and activities.
Important thing. And sadly now Mirza Ismail has been forgotten only because today, so luckily, the Anjuman came and asked me to do it. I've seen. In fact, that is another, the heart, this thing that Akbar Khalili Sahib told me. Look, they have forgotten Sir Mirza now. It's not because he's his grandson. It's not because he's his grandson, but because of what Sir Mirza was, his love for Mysore. So if people go deep into it, I'm sure all of you must do some research, more research on, bring it out, because this is the right time to talk about people like Sir Mirza. Absolutely, because he was secular. He did not have any inclination to any particular community. He cared for the Hindus, he cared for the Muslims, he cared for everybody. So this, I absolutely feel that you need to revisit Sir Mirza. And there is enough scope for you to do it. Thank you. Thank you.
After a long, long time, we listened to a really wonderful talk, a wonderful subject, a wonderful talk by a very, very wonderful speaker, Mr. Niranjan Nikam. But what I am going to say now might shock all of you. Though he spoke very well, though he really opened out a box containing some jewels which we had never seen and never heard about Sir Mirza, I never felt satisfied fully. I never will be satisfied also till we get the same Niranjan Nikam to talk about the same Sir Mirza Ismail and his unknown side once again before an audience that is physically sitting in front of us. And I think it is the responsibility of the Anjuman to reorganize a similar talk before a live audience that is sitting in front of us. And this, inshallah, we'll do it once the corona problem is set right and we meet again in a very, very safe atmosphere where all of you can come, hug him and shake hands with him and listen to his speech once more so that we can have the full enjoyment of such a good interaction. His talk was so good and so lucid and so full of information that I think we did a great thing and the right thing in getting him as our speaker today. Thank you, Mr. Niranjan. It was a wonderful evening. You gave us a wonderful treat today. And we are very proud and happy that you so graciously accepted our invitation and came here today. I now request the President of the Anjuman, Janab Shafi Saab, Dr. Salahuddin Saab and Khan Saab, Asadullah Khan Saab, to please felicitate Mr. Niranjan with a small token of our gratitude